Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulil Kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Wa ala kulli man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin. Wa ba'da a'udzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatih wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, inshallah, today we will talk about an important event in the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also an important event in the history of Islam. That is the arrival of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Madinah, and what was his first message to the people of Madinah. And that message, when we look at it in details, we will learn a lot of lessons for our own life as Muslims, because as we know, Medina was the first state of Islam, where the community was established with some rules, regulations, how we can live in a society. The rules and regulation were set there. So it is important we go back to our history and the history of Islam, and also look at what the Prophet ﷺ first mentioned on his arrival. When we look back at his life in Mecca, we recall the oppression, we recall the boycott, we recall the rejection that the Quraysh, the Mushrikeen of Mecca, were subjecting the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the group of the believers in Mecca, forcing them to leave. The first migration went to Abyssinia, and then the second migration, or even another migration to Abyssinia before the third migration to Medina. So before the arrival of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in Medina, there were already a group of Muslims that have preceded him. There were already some people among the believers who have migrated before him. So they set the stage for the arrival of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in Medina, for also organizing the state and making sure when they arrive, they establish the new community, the new state. There will be a system, there will be some regulation that they will follow in order to live as a community. So before we go into the message of the Prophet ﷺ itself, I would like to clarify or recall when we were having the workshop of our dear brother Ijaz Ahmed, who traveled all the way from Trinidad and Tobago to visit us in Hong Kong and offered us a very insightful workshop about dawah and also the protection of the Quran. When I was participating in this workshop, he inspired me actually, because he mentioned an important event that is mentioned in the Quran, that is about Abdullah bin Salam. An ayah is revealed in the Quran about this great companion of the Prophet ﷺ, who happened to be a man from the people of the book, the people of Ahlul Kitab. He was a rabbi, a Jew, living in Medina before the arrival of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So when we go to the Quran, before that, one of the greatest blessings Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed the believers is sending prophet and messengers to every nation. From time to time, Allah will send a prophet or a messenger to guide the people, take them back from ignorance and guide them toward what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants them to do. What is the purpose of their creation? Allah mentioned in the Quran in Surah Al-Imran, لَقَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Indeed, Allah has blessed the believers. إِذْ بَعَثَ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا, when He sent among them a prophet, مِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ, among them, يَتْلُونَ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ, He is reciting to them the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ, He is purifying them. وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابِ, and He is teaching them the book, meaning the Quran. وَالْحِكْمَةِ, and the wisdom. Wisdom here meaning the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He is teaching. وَإِن كَانُوا مِنْ قَبْلُ لَفِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ, while you have been before that in a great error. Before the coming of the Prophet ﷺ and the guidance of Islam, people have already completely lost the path. They are worshipping idols. They are going away from the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the greatest blessing Allah bestowed upon the believers is to send the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So then there is an ayat in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned to the mushrikeen that they are rejecting the Quran, they are rejecting the message of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In an hadith narrated by Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu, he said, I have never heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying about anybody walking on the earth that he is from the people of paradise except Abdullah bin Salam. This is to mention the virtues or the high status of this companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why we are mentioning Abdullah bin Salam, why we are talking about him while our topic is the message of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is because this man, Abdullah bin Salam, is the one who narrated the hadith that we will base our talk upon, inshallah, this evening. So Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu is saying that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said so many good things about Abdullah bin Salam during his life, and he said this man is a man of Jannah, and he recited an ayat from the Quran, and he said this ayat was revealed about Abdullah bin Salam, and many commentators of the Quran said it is indeed the witness mentioned in this ayat is Abdullah bin Salam. What does it say? He said, قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِنْ كَانَ مِنْ إِنْدِ اللَّهِ. Do you say that this, have you considered if this book is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَكَفَرْتُمْ بِهِ, and you are rejecting it, وَشَهِدَ شَاهِدٌ مِنْ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلِ, while a man among the children of Israel, meaning the children of Prophet Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam, one of them has testified to its truth. So ala misli, he has said this, what has been revealed to the Prophet ﷺ is similar to what was revealed to the previous prophet. So he is testifying that fa'amana, and he has believed in it. He has testified this, and then the people, the Jew, are rejecting it. Wastakbartum, and they are haughty, they are proud. Inna Allah la yahdil qawma zalimin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned this. He said he will not guide the wrongdoers. People who purposely know this is the truth and this is the right path and leave it aside, reject it out of arrogance, Allah will leave them to their ignorance, and then he will seize them with his punishment on the day of judgment. So this ayat, the commentators of the Quran, many of them agree that it is related to Abdullah ibn Salam. So this man, Abdullah ibn Salam, he mentioned this important narration that we have tonight, inshallah. He said amazingly in very brief words the what is called the summary of the speech of the Prophet ﷺ when he arrived in Medina. So Abdullah ibn Salam was not a Muslim at that time when the Prophet ﷺ arrived, and he was hiding himself in the crowd, watching over and observing what is happening. So he is looking and listening. And he said, Abdullah ibn Salam said, when the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam arrived in Medina, the people came out to meet him. It was said that the Messenger of Allah has arrived. So I went among the people to get a look at him. So he was curious. He heard about Islam. He has seen the migrant, the companion who has migrated from Mecca and based themselves in Medina. He has seen them practicing Islam. They're talking about the Prophet ﷺ. So on the day of his arrival, this rabbi came out. He is looking at what is happening. He said, when I gazed upon the face of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I knew that this face was not the face of a liar. Subhanallah. This is a non-Muslim testifying from his own experience. He's a leader of a community. He is a rabbi, a religious leader who, by all standard, will receive all kind of people. People will come to him with different kind of problems, seeking advice, seeking guidance. So he has extensive experience dealing with people, and he is relating from what he knew. He said, this man, a man speaking like this, a man behaving like this, a man who is looking like this is a sincere person, repeating exactly the nicknames the Prophet ﷺ had before Islam. We know before the message of prophethood, the Prophet ﷺ had a nickname. His nickname was Al-Amin, the truthful, the man who tells the truth all the time. So here, a man from among the people of Israel is confirming that this man, when I look at his face, it is not the face of a liar. SubhanAllah. And then he continued, now relating what he heard the Prophet ﷺ saying. He said the first thing the Prophet spoke about was that he said, O people, spread the salam, feed the poor, and perform the salat while other people are asleep. You will enter paradise with the greeting of salam. This is a very short speech the Prophet ﷺ gave, but it has so profound meaning. When we look at it, it's all what a society needs is within this very short statement. For any group of people to live together as a community, all their needs is included in this statement. It's one of the great blessings Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whenever he speaks, his speech is very short, but it is deep and profound. It needs you to reflect and derive the wisdom from it. So Abdullah ibn Salam, relating this story, he said the Prophet ﷺ said three things. Number one, he said, O people, spread the salam. Number two, feed others. Number three, perform the salat at night when people are asleep. What happens when you do this? You will enter paradise with peace. You will enter paradise in peace. And he mentioned this with the greeting of salam. Subhanallah, scholars and also confirmed in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, the people who will enter paradise, the greeting in paradise will be salam, peace. And this is the greeting of the people whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the followers of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have a great blessing, something so huge that we Muslims take it for granted. We send salam to one another in this dunya. This is the greeting, inshallah, we will also use in paradise. It is the greeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to Prophet Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. You remember when Allah created Prophet Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, he ordered him to greet the angels. He said, salam, and they replied, wa alaykum salam. This word is used from that time until the end of time, until people enter paradise, and it will continuously be used. So the Prophet ﷺ used this occasion rightly to set out the stage for a new era. He just shifted from, as I said, a place of chaos for the Muslims, and now setting the stage for a new life for the community of believers. And in Madinah, we will go through this speech, inshallah, and try to draw some lesson from what the Prophet ﷺ said in these 4 things, or 3 of them. Number 1, the duty of greeting with salam and returning it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, in Surah An-Nisa, he said, وَإِذَا هُوَيِّتُمْ بِتَحِيَّةٍ فَحِيِّ بِأَحْسَنَ مِنْهَا أَوْ رُدُّوهَا. Whenever you are greeted with the greeting of salam, answer it with even a better greeting, or at least the like of it. What is it? Whenever we meet one another as Muslims, we should emulate the example of the Prophet ﷺ and his companion to greet one another with the salam. Because in many society, from what we observe, from what we know, every community has a way of greeting. But the Islamic way of greeting is one of the unique way of greeting. I will not say there is no other greeting in the world which has dua in it. But the greeting of Islam is not just to say hi, or to say hello, or to say good morning, or to say in whatever language you're using. It has a much, much higher status. Because when you're saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi to somebody, you are not just saying, attracting their attention. When you meet someone, you say hi. Hi, what does it mean? You are only attracting the attention of that person. You are not wishing them anything. You are not making any supplication for them. As compared to Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, this is a supplication you are making for that person. You are saying, may the peace and blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the heaven and earth, be upon you. And the Quran is telling us, whenever now somebody comes to you and greet you with salam, it becomes an obligation upon you to return it with something better. The Prophet ﷺ was sitting with some companion, and hadith reported by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu is recorded in Sahih Muslim, Al-Bukhari as well. A man came and found the gathering and said, Assalamu alaikum. The Prophet ﷺ said he has 10 rewards. Another man came, he said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The Prophet ﷺ said he has 20 rewards. A third man came, he said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The Prophet ﷺ said he has 30 rewards. So the complete greeting of Islam, as reported in this hadith, is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, whenever somebody greets you with any of these three, it becomes an obligation to return it. And the Quran is telling us to return it with something better, or at least return it, the similar one. Somebody comes and say, Assalamu alaikum. The least you can do is to say, Wa alaikum salam. Otherwise, what the Quran is commanding you is to say, Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. At least you add wa rahmatullah. So you get 20 reward for returning up to that. If the person comes and say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, you return by saying Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You are completing the salam. However, there are other people who like to add ta'ala in their greeting. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. This ta'ala is not reported in the authentic narration. I'm not giving any ruling to say it is haram to say the ta'ala when you are greeting. However, if we want to confirm ourselves to what the Prophet ﷺ and his companion did, we should limit to, because we are doing this seeking the reward, seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, we can greet one another with our own languages, which carry no benefit, except it will spread friendship. But when you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, you are aiming to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, get reward for saying it, get some sins forgiven, and also establishing a relationship with the people you are greeting. So what is so special about this greeting of salam? Imam An-Nawawi rahimahullah, he said the minimum that any community need to spread goodness among them, everything initiated by greeting one another. When you meet somebody, you open your face to them, you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's initiate dialogue, it's invite contact, it's showing that I have no hostility toward you, I have no enmity toward you. It's openness. So even if somebody was thinking, oh, this guy is arrogant, he is rude, he is so and so, you come to them and greet them by Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If the person has very basic understanding, they will return it. This will give you a new start. So when Muslims are saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi, it's not just to greet one another, it's to wish goodness for one another. Is to extend peace. You are wishing peace to somebody. So I cannot expect someone who has come to me and say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah in 1 minute ago will strike me in the next minute. So the moment you say Assalamu alaikum to me, you open conversation with me, you open the door of dialogue with me, I will assume that you will not strike me. I will not fear any harm from you anymore. So this is the initial stage of establishing connection in any community. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is legislating and giving this to the Muslim to say, spread the peace and greeting among you. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he arrived in Madinah, he seized the occasion to tell the people, we are setting a stage. There is no hostility in this city. There is no enmity. Spread love and peace among you. In one of the hadiths of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he said, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you should not enter paradise so long as you do not affirm your belief. What is the belief mentioned here? Is to affirm La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, to affirm the prayer, to affirm the zakat, to affirm fasting the month of Ramadan, performing the Hajj for those who have the ability, and the pillars of Iman. So the Prophet ﷺ is telling in this gathering that you will not be believers until you will not enter paradise until you are believers. Practical way of teaching the people how to achieve peace. And then he went on to say, you will not be believer as long as you do not love one another. Subhanallah. As long as you do not love one another, you will not be believers. And then he is telling the people, should I teach you what you do? If you do it, you will love one another. If you do that, you will love one another. And he said, spread the salam. Should I not direct you to that to a thing which if you do, will foster love among you? And he said, practice the saying of salam. When you say salam to people, they will open to talk to you. They will open to tell you their difficulties. They will open to seek help from you. And the person you are assisting, you are helping, the person who you are, when they have their needs, they will come to you. You don't expect any harm from these people because they know you are a solution to certain problems they are facing. So this will only happen when there is a door open for them. And how you establish that? As someone who has high status in the community, somebody who has a position of leadership. Because three things, when men achieve these things, they start setting another kind of rules that other common people don't set. When you are rich, when you have power, and when you have knowledge, you start making rules. You start saying, no, this is not allowed in my place. This is not allowed. While other people, ordinary people, don't have those rules. People, when they have money, they start putting these barriers between them and other people, especially the poor, thinking that if these people come close to them, they will discover their secret, or thinking that this is their own genius, their own intelligence that led them to that position, forgetting the very basic the Prophet ﷺ taught is to spread the salam. When you spread salam among you, it will foster love. And when you love one another, you will become a stable community. And this will lead to paradise. And I am not aware of any other form of greeting that has reward in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except what Allah has legislated to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In our communities, you will see a lot of people, they reject this idea. When you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi to them, they said, we are not Arabs. Why you don't speak our language? They think by you saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi to them, it's like you are becoming arrogant to not speak your own language. And they reject, instead of replying by saying wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi, they reply in their own local language. They're missing on the reward. They're missing the purpose, the understanding of sending the greeting of Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. This hadith is reported by Imam Muslim. The reference is there. So this is one of the key points the Prophet ﷺ emphasized when he arrived in Medina, to spread the salam. And the second point the Prophet ﷺ mentioned is to maintain the ties of kinship. Do you know what is the ties of kinship? The ties of relation, blood relations. The maintaining of contact with your nearest relatives, those who inherit you and those you inherit from. Fundamentally, the people around you, when there is an urgent matter, they are the one who stand for you. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned this in one of the authentic narration reported by Imam al-Bukhari. I took the report from Riyadh al-Salihin. He said, Abdullah ibn Umar al-As radiallahu anhu reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, the person who perfectly maintains the ties of kinship is not the one who does it because he gets compensated by his relatives. Some people will only maintain their blood relation because the people they are maintaining the relationship with are good to them. When those people become hostile, they also neglect them. They say, no, I don't want to have anything to do with that person. While you are not doing it to please that person, you're doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah mentioned in the Quran in at least 4 places, at least 4 different places in different surah, commanding the people to maintain this relationship. He said, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ لِوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. We have enjoined upon the human being, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ لِوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Be good and kind to your parents. And parents here, when you go to the tafsir, you go to the commentary of the Quran, it does not limit it to your father and mother alone. It also extends to a grandfather. It also extends to the direct relatives, people who will take care of you in case of demise of your parents at a young age. That's why I said the people you inherit or those who inherit from you. Maintaining the blood relation with these is highly recommended in Islam. As the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, he continued in the hadith, but the one who truly maintains the bonds of kinship is the one who persists in doing so, even though the latter has severed the ties of kinship with him. Somebody among your relatives cut off relation with you, they are angry at you for one reason or the other, you still go to them. You still discharge your duties, responsibility on checking on them. If they are sick, you visit them. If they are in need, you help them. This is what the Prophet ﷺ said. In another hadith, he said, whoever cut the ties of kinship will not enter paradise. Subhanallah, very, very severe warning. The hadith is authentic. Whoever cut the ties of relationship is with his relation will not enter paradise. This has got nothing to do with worship now. Even the person is worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they perform in salat, they believe in Allah, they believe in all the pillars, but they cutting off the ties of relationship purposely. The Prophet ﷺ said, the person will not enter paradise. I leave it to you to dig into this and interpret it at your own. What does it imply? It means that worshipping alone is not sufficient. You still have to accompany that with the wisdom, the teaching of the Prophet ﷺ. Allah has placed a very high price on maintaining the blood relation. He actually called the womb Rahmah. The womb, he called it Rahmah, mercy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of his attribute and very, very highly ranked attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is his Rahmah. The Rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala covers everything, not only the Muslims, those who believe. It also covers those who use their tongue to abuse Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They reject his prophet, they reject his book, they reject his commands. They not only limit themselves to that, they use their tongue to deny and abuse Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yet he still provide for them out of His mercy. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something beyond human imagination. Imagine somebody become hostile and rude to you, and they, in 1 minute, next minute they come and ask a favor. What will be your reaction? You start shaking your head. Yes, it's now you're coming back. This time, you make them feel ashamed. You lecture them, even if you still have to give them that favor. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, despite all the mistakes and sins we are committing day and night, He's still merciful, providing for us, giving us our provision. And this is the same attitude we should have toward our parents. We should maintain the ties of kinship. Renewing these ties with families on a regular basis is something highly recommended in Islam. That's why a Muslim should seize every occasion to visit his relatives. On the occasion of Eid, on the occasion of a baby born on occasion of a nikah, on occasion of someone who passed away, so on occasion of someone who is sick, and so occasion someone who is in need. Never turn your back to your nearest relatives, because the foundation of your stability is, number one, your relatives. When something happens, before someone else outside step in, the immediate family, they are the one to face the situation. So maintaining the ties of kinship is highly recommended, and we cannot afford to lose it, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in this speech when he arrived in Madinah. This is again to show that this is indeed a new beginning for the Muslim community, for the Ummah. These people have been boycotted. You will see a father not speaking to the son. You will see relatives not speaking to another because of Islam in Mecca. But when the Prophet ﷺ came to Madinah, he said, the past, what was happening in Mecca and all the hardship and the boycott, now you are brothers. And the brotherhood of Islam is not only by blood, is the faith. So he established a new foundation for the Muslim to start. I will recall one incident in the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, because a lot of non-Muslims will come and attack you, undermining you using that particular incident, which is the marriage of the Prophet ﷺ to Aisha radiallahu anha. When the Prophet ﷺ came to ask for the hands of Aisha in marriage, Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu said, but I have already given her, I have already committed to give her in marriage to someone else. And he mentioned is the name of this man who happened to be a kafir. He was not a believer. When the father of that man came to know that Abu Bakr has embraced Islam, he denied his son the right to marry Aisha radiallahu anha. He said, I don't want you to marry his daughter anymore. Indicating that Aisha radiallahu anha was already at the age of marriage. Otherwise, why will any parents commit to give his daughter in marriage to someone? There was no need. But then Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, when the Prophet ﷺ asked for marrying Aisha radiallahu anha, he said, but you are my brother. The Prophet ﷺ said, yes, I'm your brother in faith, but that does not deny there is no conflict me marrying your daughter. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed in the Quran the categories of people who cannot marry each other. And only the close relatives, as mentioned in that ayat, and the relation between Aisha radiallahu anha and the Prophet ﷺ was not included in that. So whoever is coming to talk to you, undermine you on this point, you just don't give them your attention. Simple. Because they're speaking out of ignorance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us and forgive us. And the third point, or the second point, the third point the Prophet ﷺ mentioned is feeding the poor, feeding people. When he arrived, he said, spread the salam, feed the people, maintain the ties of kinship, pray at night when people are asleep. So the point we talking about now is the feeding of the people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Insan. In Surah Al-Insan, Allah mentioned the situation of people who feed others in spite of them having the need of that food. And it is amazing because feeding is something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala associated for forgiveness, to worship, basically. For those who cannot fast, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replaced their fasting by feeding other people. It's the only form of non-ritual worship that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised to the status of ritual worship, feeding people. It is a means of achieving forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, giving sadaqah. When you give sadaqah constantly, it is a way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive you. What happens when somebody, for example, steal, let's say, they steal something and they cannot find the owner to return it. They repent, they regret what they have done, they want to compensate it, they want to return it back to the owner, and the owner is no more to be found. The solution Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave is that you give equivalent of that in sadaqah on behalf of the person. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Insan, talking about the qualities of the people of Jannah who will feed other people, he said, they fulfill their vows. They fear a day widespread vows, meaning that they fear the day of judgment. They fulfill their commitment. They fulfill their promise. And they give food to the poor, the orphans, and the captive, though they love it themselves. Subhanallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا. They feeding the poor, the orphans, and the captive, even though they love it by themselves. And when they do that, what they said, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. We are feeding you and we do not need any reward or thanks from you. We are only seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when Allah mentioned this one, they said, Inna nakhafu min rabbina yawman abusan gamtarira. We are worried about a day when our Lord will hold us, will take us to account. The day of judgment, for which there is no doubt. And we mentioned some of the events that will happen on the day of judgment in our previous presentation. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then will say to these people, on the day of judgment, Allah will reward them for what they patiently endured. They went through difficulties. They made themselves hungry because they want to feed other people. Allah will reward them for that sacrifice and He will grant them paradise. Subhanallah. Just for abstaining from eating by yourself and giving the food to a needy person, to a much more needy person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be pleased with such act, he will reward you with paradise. As long as the person has faith and then doing this act for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, paradise is waiting for them by the mercy of Allah. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَجَزَاهُمْ بِمَا صَبَرُوا جَنَّةً وَحَرِيرًا. We pay them back for their patience with Jannah. And their dress in Jannah will be harir. It's a type of garment that we cannot even describe. SubhanAllah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us this entry to paradise by His mercy. And then the next point the Prophet ﷺ mentioned is praying at night while others are asleep. We know that the Prophet ﷺ was ordered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to pray at night, the tahajjud prayer. This was not an obligation upon the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, but it was seen as it is an obligation upon himself. He made his habit consistently praying at night throughout his life, to a point that Aisha radiallahu anha one day found that his feet are swollen because of standing for the night prayer. She asked him, "O Messenger of Allah, why you have to suffer so much? Why are you making yourself in such difficulties?" He replied, "O Aisha, should I not be a grateful servant to my Lord?" Imagine if one of us who is giving this free ticket to Jannah, you are told all your sins for forgiving. You will stop you will stop the prayer, you will stop fasting. But the Prophet ﷺ, he knows his status in Jannah, yet he is the one striving more than anyone of the Ummah, setting an example. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, telling the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in Surah Al-Isra, he said, "Aqimi salata Aqimi salat liduluki samsi ila khasagil layl wal Qur'an al-fajr inna Qur'an al-fajr kana mashhura." The Prophet ﷺ was told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to perform the prayer, establish the prayer at the decline of the sun. When the sun has passed the zenith, meaning perform the prayers during the day and during the night. But then he said, again, and from the part of the night, pray with it as additional worship for you. It is expected that your Lord will resurrect you to a praise station. When the adhan is completed, we recite a dua. What do we say after the adhan? Allahumma rabb haji da'wati tamma wa salatul ga'ima ati Muhammadin wasilatil fadila wa bahasu magaman mahmud al-lazi wa'ata. Of course, there are some people who also add into this dua, saying, "Innaka la tuflihul mi'ad." This is not reported in the authentic hadith. Stop. Where the Prophet ﷺ is giving the high station, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now is telling the Prophet ﷺ, وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَحَجُّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ. At night, do an extra prayer. The prayer at night is emphasized throughout the Quran and through the life of the Prophet ﷺ and many of his companions. The night prayer is the measurement of level of iman they have, because we have different categories of Muslim. The night prayer is not for every Muslim. It's like we are all in the same plane. There are people traveling first class, there are people traveling business class, and there are other people in economy. The people who will go on first class, they are the people who will perform the night prayer. It is not an obligation, but it is highly recommended. It's a sign of high level of Iman. The Prophet ﷺ is telling the people of Medina at that time, perform the prayer when people are asleep. Why is it so important to pray when people are asleep? Because this is the time you want to enjoy rest. This is a time when a measurement of sincerity can be seen. When you are praying during the day, you are rubbing shoulders with people in the masjid here and there, it can be for sure. But when you wake up at night, especially during adverse weather, when it's cold, you walk to make wudu, you stand alone, only you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala know what is happening. This is sincerity. And why the night prayer is so important, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, despite the Hadith al-Qudsi, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told that He will come to the lowest level of the heaven on the third part of the night. Every third part of the night, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will lower Himself to the lowest part of the heaven, asking the people who is there seeking for forgiveness so that I will forgive him. Who is there seeking my provision so that I will provide him. It is, according to the Prophet ﷺ narration in another, he said, is the time when the dua is most likely to be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It shows sincerity. When you are looking for your dua to be accepted, make it on the last third of the night. When everybody is asleep, you wake up, you do your tahajjud, and you connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you supplicate and ask Allah whatever you need. This is the habit of all the righteous people. Now, what is this night prayer? How is it performed? How the Prophet ﷺ reported, it is reported to have said from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, that the best month for observing Saum, meaning fasting, is the month of Ramadan. After Ramadan is the month of Muharram. And he said in the same hadith, the best salat after the prescribed salat is the night prayer. So if you are looking for the best kind of sunnah prayer, is the one you perform at night when everybody is asleep, preferably on the last part of the night. But it does not mean the tahajjud prayer can only be prayed on the last part of the night. This is the misconception that is very common now, especially in our time. We've been hearing some people saying, no, the tahajjud prayer, you cannot perform it. The timing of this tahajjud is open. It's a sunnah prayer that can be performed from the time you completed your Isha until the Adhan of Fajr is done. Any time in between, you are free to do tahajjud prayer, even though the best is to wait for the last third of the night. But if you cannot do that, for one reason or the other, you can perform 2 rakat after Isha. You can perform 4, you can perform 6, 8, and so forth. So the Prophet ﷺ was asked about the night prayer. Hadith Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu wa abi. He said, a man came to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, how about the night prayer? How do we perform it? The Prophet ﷺ said, Salatul layl masna masna. فإذا خفت الصبح فأويتر بواحد. If you fear, the prayer at night is 2 by 2 by 2. If you fear that Fajr is catching upon you, pray 1 rakat as witr. Now, again, we need to clarify here the situation of the witr prayer, because a lot of people also, they have a misunderstanding that they say, oh, I have already prayed witr, I cannot do tahajjud anymore. No, there is no barrier to say if you pray witr, you cannot do any other prayer. It is preferable you make the witr your last prayer, but this will not, if you pray witr, it doesn't mean you cannot later on pray tahajjud again. You can pray as much as you want. And then another misconception a lot of people have, they only hear, no, there is no 2 witr in one night. Yes, there is no 2 witr in one night. This is the instruction of the Prophet ﷺ. It does not mean if you pray 2 witr in one night, you are committing a sin. It means that if you pray witr twice in one night, your witr has been nullified. You have to pray again. Some of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, what they used to do, they will pray 2 by 2 by 2. If they feel tired, they will pray witr before going to sleep. But then if they wake up at night before Fajr, they want to pray again, they will pray 1 rakat to cancel the witr they already prayed, and then they will pray 2 by 2 and 2, and then they will do the witr as last, following the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ. So praying witr twice in one night will nullify your witr, but you have no sins for doing that. I hope this makes some clarification for some people who have this, because I've been hearing comment here and there recently about the witr prayer. So one last thing, the Prophet ﷺ commanded one of his companions, I think Abdullah ibn Umar, he ordered him, he advised him. He said, your station will be higher if you were not to forget the witr prayer, or mean you wake up at night and do tahajjud. He said afterward, since the Prophet ﷺ advised me about the tahajjud prayer, I never neglected it. And Abdullah ibn Umar is one of the companions who followed the Prophet ﷺ practice to the letter. He used to follow everything he has seen or heard, observed from the Prophet ﷺ, step by step, without missing anything. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us understand. May Allah make us people of high status in Jannah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the ability to worship Him and spread the greeting of salam among ourselves and connect our hearts in goodness. May Allah forgive us all our mistakes and make us people of Jannah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you have any question, please feel free.
Yes, any questions, inshallah ta'ala, you may proceed to Brother Ali Diallo regarding the topic or otherwise. So let us know, inshallah. Is there any questions from the brothers here regarding the first message of the Prophet sallallahu in Madinah?
No question. Alhamdulillah. Clear. Yes, sir. Brother Yusuf is asking about the witr prayer, nullifying it. Yes, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in an authentic narration there are no 2 witr in one night. So now, how the companion interpreted that, if they pray witr already and then they want to do more prayer during the night, they will pray another witr, which will nullify the witr there, because witr means what? Something odd. I mean, an odd number of rakat. So if you pray one, you didn't have an odd number. Now you have an even number. So they will continue praying as much as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills, and then they will pray another witr. So meaning the two witr is being cancelled, there is only one witr now.
What about in Ramadan when people are praying behind the Imam and the Imam there's a reward to complete with the Imam?
The brother is asking, is there any reward to pray the witr with the Imam during Ramadan, for example? Yes, there is an hadith. Authenticity of the hadith is disputed among those who authenticate hadith. To say that if you pray Isha, you pray the Taraweeh with the Imam and complete it until he finishes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will record you as someone who has prayed the whole night. So the completion of the prayer of the Imam comes with the prayer of the witr. So you can pray with the Imam the witr, and it does not mean also if you pray the witr with the Imam, you cannot do tahajjud. You can even leave and pray at home without repeating another witr. It's not necessarily to say if you make any other nafil prayer after the witr, you are committing any sin. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not waste the reward of any good deeds from his servants. Whatever we do, Allah will keep count of it. So, yes, it is allowed to pray the witr with the Imam, and then later on at night, if you want to cancel your own witr or you want to do additional prayer without repeating the witr, the door is open, inshallah. And the number of rakat for tahajjud prayer, as we see from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ reported by Abu Huraira, is 2 by 2 without any upper limit. There are some people who will put an upper limit to say that the Prophet ﷺ only prayed 8 rakat in one night. Yes, that's an authentic hadith narrated in both Sahih Muslim and Al-Bukhari, and from someone who knows, from Aisha radiallahu anha. But it does not put an upper limit. You can as well pray more than that. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, rahmahullah, he used to pray 300 rakat at night, reported by his son. Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu, he used to pray more than these 8 rakat the Prophet ﷺ prayed. And Abdullah bin Umar is someone who loved to follow what the Prophet ﷺ did at the letter. So if anybody is able to pray more than 8 rakat, they are most welcome. Just follow the format the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, 2 by 2. Every 2, you sit down, make tashahud and say salam, and then stand for another 2, as much as you can. This is the clear understanding, inshallah.
Regarding ties of kinship, sometimes our extended family do not benefit from them or anything like that, but very difficult because of some of the hostilities they do towards maybe our immediate family or something, to have any sort of respect for them. In that case, how do we ease our heart to, maybe we say hi and bye, could we just leave it at that, or we must do favors and this and that?
The brother is asking extended families, how do we maintain the ties of kinship with these, especially for those who will show hostilities toward our own family? Should we just maintain the greeting and separate, or should we extend some kind of goodness to them? Okay, the clear understanding is that whatever we are doing, we're not doing it to reciprocate, to return the favors they are doing to us, or for whatever reason, we are only seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and achieving the pleasure of Allah comes with a price. You will need a kind of sacrifice. You will need to get some feelings. You will feel hurt at certain points to achieve the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And maintaining these ties of kinship is so important that even if your relatives are not Muslims, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us still to be good to them. And if you look at Surah Luqman, how he was advising his son, he said, even if they advise you to do anything about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you have no knowledge of, don't follow them, but live with them in goodness. In this dunya, whatever you are able to do for them, it becomes an obligation upon you to do it for achieving the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not because of their attitude, not of whatever disagreement there is between you, but for achieving the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You need to swallow that pride you will have in yourself. You need to swallow the hurt that you are feeling by their words or action to achieve the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Our friends, like you have some very close friends, somehow his relationship got short, right? So
Right. Here we need to separate, and the brother is asking, because I'm repeating for those who will not hear you, is asking how about relation we have with friends. This is another category. These friends, they are the rules between us and between friends, you and friends, and the rules between you and blood relatives, they are separate in Islam. The friends, what is obliged upon you is the right of a Muslim upon another Muslim. When they greet you, you return the greeting. When they are sick, you visit them. When they are seeking advice from you, sincerely, you advise them. And when they die, you accompany them to the grave. You bury them. When they say salam to you, you return the salam. Again, spreading salam. But you don't have an obligation to maintain the ties with them if there is hostility. But for parents, blood relatives, we have no choice but to comply with the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and take the hurt in ourselves. But for friends, if you find that you don't get along and it's only bringing, they diverting you from the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have the right to leave them. There are two different categories. Any other? Clear?
So is it compulsory? It's not compulsory to say the salawat before we say the prayer of Adhan. Sallallahu alayhi before we say the.
Or brother is asking if is an obligation to say the dua after the adhan. No, it's not an obligation, but we have a reward for saying it because this is the practice of the Prophet ﷺ, and it is the practice of the companion. If you don't do it, you don't have any sin, but if you do it, you have reward. So you need to make distinction. There is no obligation upon you to say that. It's just like when you finish the wudu. When you go for wudu, you say Bismillah. You finish, you don't have to say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. But if you say, you have reward. If you don't say it, you have no sin. Allah will not punish you for that. So we need to make the distinction between the commands, inshallah.
I think inshallah with that we can close. Jazakallah khair all the brothers for coming today, and inshallah keep supporting MCHK. And if you like what you see, please follow us, and inshallah we will see you in the next one.
Jazakallah khair. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My Allah is the one, the one, the one. the one.